with slowly with a few more papers, the final figure comes out, final picture comes out clear about the virus. The virus actually has four structural proteins, that is the spike protein, the envelope protein, the membrane protein, and the nucleocapsid protein. It has 16 non-structural proteins. Non-structural proteins are involved directly or indirectly in the replication of the viral genome, and it has three accessory proteins. So this was the initial genome organization they found out. So spike proteins are trimeric in nature. They have a S1 domain which forms the corona-like image, for which the virus is named as coronavirus, the surface of sun, and it pops out of the lipid bilayer membrane. So the virus is trimeric. So the S1 domain are three S1 domains actually, and there's a S2 domain in the stalk, which is three S2 domains, which is immersed in the lipid bilayer. Spike protein is also a glycoprotein. It is the protein that attaches to the host cell through a receptor, ACE2 receptor. And the membrane also has membrane protein and envelope protein. Envelope protein have a hydrophilic N terminal which interacts with the viral genome. Apart from these four proteins, the virus has a RNA genome. So the virus total sequence was said to be 29 kb or 30 kb almost, 29.891 kb single-stranded RNA, and it's a positive genome. The RNA is very similar to any eukaryotic RNA in the terms that it has a 5' methyl cap and a 3' poly A tail. The virus has a 38% GC content, and the genome organization is similar to all the other coronaviruses. This is the common structure for all the coronaviruses, and this is for actually SARS-CoV-2 specifically, but all the coronaviruses have almost more or less the same sequence organization. And the sequence is such that there's a 5' cap followed by a leader sequence, a small leader sequence is there, and then a UTR is there here, and then the replicase region is there, which is the green region, the non-structural protein. And replicase region consists of the RNA-dependent RNA polymerase, which is involved in the replication of the virus RNA, as well as some proteases. And after the replicase unit is the structural unit, and the structural unit has the spike protein, envelope protein, membrane protein, and nucleocapsid protein in the same order in all the coronavirus: S, E, M, and then N. And these are interspersed by different accessory proteins. So when the virus replicates, obviously the virus replicates from 5' end to 3' end, but when it is forming proteins, it also makes ORFs, open reading frames, of different lengths. So, and it starts from here, it starts from lesser, smaller size, and most of the ORFs are also overlapping. This is how it controls that some proteins can be translated higher amount than other proteins. So ORF 1A, 1B, 1A by B is starting from here till here, and it's the largest ORF. And there is one more ORF starting from the same region, only that it is a -1 frame shift to ORF 1AB, which is called as ORF 1A. And the proteins that come out of this are actually polyproteins 1A and polyprotein 1B. The polyproteins are cleaved by virus encoded proteases, which come from 4 of the 16 non-structural proteins. These are the main protease, or the 3 chymotrypsin-like protease, or the papan-like protease. And ORF3 and ORF3B and ORF8 are very peculiar to SARS-CoV in sequence. ORF3 and ORF8. These are the most peculiar sequences to SARS-CoV, which are little different from SARS virus of 2003. And infection step, we are not going into much detail in this one. The first one is obviously at the attachment. Attachment happens by a human receptor called ACE2. ACE2 binds to the receptor binding domain on the spike, and after the spike protein binds to ACE2, the spike is cleaved by another host protein called protease, transmembrane protease. It is cleaved between S1 and S2 sites somewhere here, as well as one cleave is happening in the S2 site itself. This cleave of site leads to the activation of the S2 domain and induces the fusion process wherein the lipid bilayer membrane of the virus fuses with the lipid membrane of the host cell, the bronchial epithelial cell, and the viral RNA is uh, allowed to enter into the host cell. After the entry of the virus, the positive strand RNA virus immediately is translated to PP1A and PP1AB polyproteins, and the viral protease activate NSPs that are encoded by this PP1A and PP1B, and one of these NSP is the RNA-dependent RNA polymerase, and with other accessory proteins and other non-structural proteins, it forms the replication transcription complex. The transcription is discontinuous transcription, or also called as the nested subgenomic RNA. As I said, it can start at multiple sites, and it can form procedure-wise. The RNA genome is converted into cDNA, and it is broken into small fragments of 100 and 150 base pairs. Adapters are linked, added to both the ends of the fragments, and the adapters are attached to a flow cell in the machine. A flow cell, it will attach in a different location each of these fragments. So the entire genome is represented into many different fragments, and they are attached at different locations. And a primer is bound, and a sequencing reaction occurs wherein incoming nucleotides have 4 different colors, fluorophore colors, and as well as they also have a terminator attached to it. So as and when fluorophore attached to it, depending on the excitation, it is recognized which part of the flow cell is producing what kind of fluorescence, and the fluorescence is recorded at each point spatially on the flow cell. And the next step, the the uh, the the samples are washed out, and the terminator of the last added base is dissociated, and a new base is added, and a new signal is generated. Likewise, each of this flow cell forms a cluster, and every now and then the cluster keeps peeking out excitation spectra, and the spectra is recorded, and total sequences of each cluster is counted by the machine in a serial order. So this sequence reflects to a sequence of 150 base pair randomly from anywhere in the genome. So that's how they get the reads of 150 base pairs. Around 56.56 million reads were obtained in the first genome sequences. And after the reads, the next step is to try to make a contig where you see overlapping ends. If the ends are overlapping, you can read it continuously, meaning that ends are overlapping, meaning that they are the next fragments in the succession in the genome, and a contig is made. Around 3,48,000 contigs were made, and finally the contigs are assembled into scaffolding, and the longest contig which is obtained will reflect the complete genome sequence, and the longest contig was 30 kb sequence, and this is the viral sequence that was sequenced. The first initial cases in Wuhan, they started sequencing very rapidly all the cases, and this data was generated from 20 patients and 29 sequencings from 20 patients, and they wanted to check how is the spike protein which is involved in the attachment to the host cell is changing in the patients. So this is the entire spike protein region in the DNA, which is around 3,800 kilobases towards the end of the genome, from 21,473 nucleotide to 25,240 nucleotide, and they decided to take 6 fragments for PCR, 6 fragments of PCR, and they checked important mutations in the 20 samples, 20 patients, and they found a lot of non-synonymous mutation. The black one, dead arrows or filled arrows or black ones are non-synonymous mutation, and the unfilled arrows are synonymous mutation. They found less synonymous mutations and more non-synonymous mutation in the initial patients, which these are the same cases that we had talked in the initial mutational analysis. And as I said, the virus is mutating more at the non-synonymous regions in the spike protein. And this graph, this figure I showed only because this is not just spike protein. Spike protein is somewhere a small region in this protein, this region. So there are non-synonymous mutations here and less of synonymous mutation. The virus is also mutating in the non-structural regions. There are non-synonymous mutations on these sites and synonymous mutations here. So the initial cases, most of the mutations happened in a fashion of non-synonymous in spike, as well as many of them in uh, the non-structural protein region. So 98.98% were similar 4 nucleotide mutations were observed. Had 98.98% of the genome analyzed had 4 nucleotide mutations. This C2A and C2T, C2A and T82A, T2C. And one important observation was that the SARS virus of COVID that caused COVID, the SARS coronavirus 2, is more similar to the SARS coronavirus of 2003 and 2004, and very less similar to the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome virus of 2014. Considering that virus mutates at the rate of 10 to the power minus 4 mutations per site per year, uh, it was thought that the virus is mutating very fast. Only later studies they came to know that virus is mutating not so very fast. It is mutating normally in its own capacity. The rate of mutation also indicated that the virus is of a recent origin. Furthermore, after 1 month, another paper came on the mutation pattern, and this paper analyzed around almost 103 sequences. And of the 103 sequences, it has shown that a lot of sequences had different kind of deletion mutants. Deletion mutants are very difficult to happen because they are very rare to happen. For example, there was a deletion of 8 amino acid or 24 nucleotides in Japanese isolate, and there was a single amino acid mutation or 3 nucleotide mutation in a American isolate, and in Australian isolate there was around 3 amino acid or 9 nucleotide deletion. So these deletions usually should happen at the lesser rate, but this deletion was seen in different geographical regions in different locations on the genome. The American deletion is on the ORF1A1B. The Japanese again in the beginning of the ORF1A1B, whereas the Australian deletion is towards the end of the genome in the after the nucleocapsid in the 3' UTR region. And finally, these are the total number of mutations that were observed in 103 sequences. 5' UTR had 8 mutations. ORF1A1B 48 mutation, but considering ORF1A1B is around 25 and a half kb, the number of mutations are very less. Spike protein is around 3.8 kb, and there are 14 mutations already known. So spike is mutating very fast, and there are intergenic 5 mutations observed. Envelope protein, strangely not expectedly, it is not mutating very fast. There are 0 mutation observed, and nucleocapsid also has a very high amount of mutation. Envelope protein is very small region over here, and no mutations are observed. So in complete genome, there were 93 mutations observed in 103 isolates. The same data is shown here. And this is the general structure of the viral genome again. As you can see, the spike is the most mutating region in 3.8 kb, around 14 mutations observed in a small amount. It is 186, I think,